Hello everyone and welcome to another episode on channel Trevor-The-Timmy. Today we're looking at the Time Spiral Remastered black cards, specifically those which were time shifted. If you're liking the content so far, definitely consider going back and looking. We've already looked at the blue and the white cards overall, so you can go back and check out those videos. Also would appreciate if you consider liking and subscribing. I wanted to make these just so it's an easy collected spot for everyone to see all of the cards that are time shifted. I think we're all pretty excited about those. So we'll jump right in. So the first card we've got today is probably one of the coolest ones, and that's Thoughtsies. So Thoughtsies is just an outstanding card, playable in every format it's legal in, and you get probably the best artwork for it, being the old original Lorwyn artwork, and then just seeing that in the old bordered frame just looks gorgeous. If you're looking to get foils of these, they're probably going to be insanely expensive, just with how played it is, but it is a great looking card. Definitely appreciate that they made it just for cards like these. Now we've got Zaneport Cutthroat, which is the Blood Artist variant. Definitely very popular in EDH. I expect people to want to pick them up just for that. Outside of that, doesn't see a lot of play, but still get to enjoy it in that old frame, especially a nice choice with it being more or less an EDH staple. Moving on to Lilias Triumph. This is the verdict that gives you a little bit of upside if you control a Liliana. I think this does see some fringe legacy play. Outside of that, I don't expect this to be a super popular option. It hasn't seen a lot of play. Definitely not an EDH type card. So we'll continue on. We've got Vampire Hex Mage, one of the classic combo pieces with Dark Depths. Also more useful in recent years with just removing Planeswalkers, just a 2-mana, destroy a Planeswalker. So there's some upside if you decide you want to play like a Turbo Depths and Legacy there. And I believe some people will play this in EDH, or still are playing in EDH, I should say. Continuing on to Stinkweed Amp, which is just the Dredge classic. You can ignore all the top text of that from flying and having Death Touch or old Death Touch. Just draw, or the Dredge 5 is really the only relevant part of this card. I do have to point out in the upper left, next to the name, the little tombstone icon marker to reveal that it does something from the graveyard. I love this. I did not realize how much I missed that this was part of a card until I started seeing these old bordered cards that have it. I'm not sure how many of these I'll pick up myself personally in terms of old bordered cards, but I'm definitely going to consider picking up all of them that have that icon. I think that just looks great, and it's a quick identifier for everyone when you're looking at a graveyard, which cards are relevant. So I do love that, and I'm excited to have these versions for that reason. Continuing on with Read the Bones. Basically, when it's in standard, it's more or less a staple, just a nice way to gain some card advantage and card selection. Still playable in EDH. Outside of that, not a lot of play for this card. This is one that I'm not as excited about in Old Border either. It doesn't necessarily feel as an Old Border card as some of the other ones do to me. Dismember, just the classic removal spell, super playable in Modern. I do love this in the frame too. For some reason, this one just really stands out to me compared to the newer printing. I had to go back and look at that. It just seems like you can see the artwork a lot better. So I really like this one. Potentially pick up one or two of these. And Leyline of the Void, just great card, playable, Modern, Legacy. The free ability to start the game off against a Dredge or something like that and just remove their graveyard makes it super playable. And it'll fit into those older formats with the frame. So very nice choice from Wizards. Yogmoth, Thrawn Physician, just being the big bad villain from some of the oldest sets. It makes perfect sense to give him the old bordered frame. I assume this will be really popular for anyone who uses this as their commander, just because it feels like it is an older card. Newer power level for sure, with how high its power level is, but the flavor of the card feels older or from a different time of the game, so I appreciate having that in old border. Pick them up for your EDH decks. Just a personal favorite of mine, back to the mono black days in standard. Good old Gary, the Great Merchant of Astrodal. Just an outstanding card. Still definitely played in EDH. You can drain a bunch of life from your opponents, and then you get to get a pretty big ramp, especially in multiplayer. So this is a really nice one. Outside of that, not a lot of play for it, but still a very nice addition if you want to make your mono black EDH deck look a little nicer. Harvester of Souls. I believe this is just EDH exclusively. I don't think there's anything else playing this, but a nice way, just draw a bunch of cards, great addition to your top end in EDH. We get Tessager, which is still occasionally played in Modern. Maybe it'll see some Pioneer play too, with all the bans in that format. Especially it's an EDH as a general, very competitive card to my understanding. I do not play EDH that way, but just the ability to constantly cast it for cheap due to Delve is very strong. And you do get the nice Banana Man in the old border, which is pretty cool if you're using him as your commander. Finally, we get the Banana Man's slightly bigger best friend, the Gurmega Angler. Just an EDH, excuse me, this is not EDH, this is a Modern and Legacy card, just all over the place. Both formats really want to play this a bunch. It'll fit right into your Delver decks in Legacy with that old border. Feels right at home there. So I think this was another great choice. Wizards overall has done some really good options, or they pick some really good options to have cards that fit into those older formats specifically being targeted here, which makes a lot of sense. So I think overall the black cards they picked were very good. Thank you again for watching, and if you're interested, there'll be more videos coming up just looking at each of these so you can have a quick view of each color and the time-shifted cards they got. Have a great day, everyone.